have that up on another monitor, guys. So it's actually maybe if Koss were to beat Clem, even though Clem's like, you know, kind of right now people view his TVT as his worst, right? Even though that is the case, like if Koss beats Clem and advances to this bracket, that would actually be a really good result. It definitely would. All right. We are going to get into another ZvZ, though, and watch Denver continue his path to glory. In the bottom left, he just beat Mana. It is the yellow Zerg Lambo. In the top right, as the blue Zerg, it is Denver. So Denver showed prowess in ZvZ against Sort of, who is no slouch. And just like in general, European Zergs, while they may not be as plentiful as we once would make fun of, you know, all of Europe is Zergs basically, is the running joke of Starcraft. It's not true anymore, it's more like Protoss. But anyways, it still means that European Zergs are all pretty darn good at ZvZ. If you're a European Zerg and you're bad at ZvZ, we probably don't talk about you that often. Or alternatively, you're bad, very much so in quotes, because it's your worst matchup, but it's still like a 54% win record, right? It's still better than 50%. But you're just not comparable to someone who's really good at ZvZ. Really good, like Raynor, I guess, right? So to beat Sort of, definitely a testament to Denver's performance today. I think he's going to do well against Lambo, who is really, I mean, unfortunately, you know, because Lambo's a super cool guy. I think he's like has a very good approach to StarCraft, and he obviously talks to a lot of the best pro gamers. He's actually one of the more vocal about talking with other pro gamers, you know, just sharing information, sharing strategies. He has really fallen off from what we were seeing back in 2018 Montreal, right? When he was, you know, he's very confident. He's a very fun guy to watch and cheer for. And he's like, I'm one of the guys who can beat Cyril. And he almost proved it. He almost took out Cyril in the semifinals. It's been a long time since then. He's 2018, looked really hot. He almost made it to BlizzCon with that performance. He would have if Raynor... No, he did because... Wait, what happened there? He did make it to BlizzCon because Raynor didn't win the finals? Is that what happened? Shit. Or if he did beat Cyril, he would have made it to the finals. I forget which one it was. Someone remind me who the top 16 at BlizzCon in 2018. Regardless. His 2019 wasn't as hot. His 2019, he actually started off kind of unhappy, right? His winter performance wasn't that great. It wasn't that bad either, but it wasn't that great. And then the rest of 2019 never really lived up to it. So Lambo is kind of in a space where it feels like he is still trying to prove that he is one of those top 3 Zergs, where he definitely was back then. Maybe now, not so much. In fact, a Laser, the guy he talks to a lot, is actually the one that everyone talks about being not just top 3 Zergs, but maybe even better. He is still in the TSL, and the 2 other Zergs we usually consider top dog are not. Just throwing it out there. But anyways, Lambo is going to try and get a quick little edge in this game by going for a huge Ling Flood. Now, he's not going to skip a Baneling Nest, which you might see with a Ling Flood. You go straight to a Roachmore and maybe even follow up all in, or just play a macro game. He's actually going to add on a Baneling Nest. Obviously, much later than Denver, who's already building Banelings, but still going to have it for the potential counter, a very realistic counter, because Denver does not look like he's going to be holding this third hatch. Even if his Banelings had formed, this hatchery is already very, very low, and the sheer number of units here for Lambo is just overpowering. One Baneling does finish. Lambo has to take that seriously, but he could also try and pop it and come back in. He's actually not going to do that. He says, okay, I forced you to make Banelings. I forced you to make enough Lings. I'm just going to go ahead and back off. I actually thought that third hatchery was in quite a bit of trouble, but apparently it's going to be saved. Apparently it's okay. Lambo takes the drone lead. He steered this game more than Denver could and said, just drone. Now Denver realizes what's happened, knows that there's not going to be continued Ling reinforcements, and also starts drone. But he also started his lair, so he did go for a Spire again, sort of on this map, sorry. And it looks like he's going to do the same exact thing in this brand new series. His Lings try to get into the main base to see what Lambo is up to. Perhaps his own fast spire, but sees nothing. Nada. Saw the Wiggly Jiggly, maybe? Maybe a little. But it is going to be a Roachborn here from Lambo. Now we need to talk about Lambo getting in on the main base. Which would be pretty impossible to do without an Overseer. Queen blocking the natural, it should never happen. Yeah, that Spire's going to go down, no problem. This is a popular enough strategy that Lambo has to consider this is happening. But having that in mind and actually responding to it, very, very different things. If you respond to a Spire and it's not actually a Spire, well, you're also in trouble. A couple of Ling Wars. Ooh, really nice stuff here from Lambo, coming from behind with the Banelings. Didn't work out, but I like the idea. Sure loses the Baneling. Good control there from Denver. You got +1 finishing up, Lair finishing up. Denver actually going to add on a couple of Spine Crawlers, but rather unnecessarily. There are no roaches on the way. It's not that he see roaches either, right? There's no roaches here. It's more so that a roach attack could happen around this time. So I think he's being just safe. He just doesn't have to be. And Lambo's actually not doing anything about this. He's building roaches now, but also building roach speed, and unfortunately it does seem like the lack of information has directed him to first and foremost respond to a normal roach game, and only now is he really starting to respond to the Spire. He did start up 3 queens before the actual Spire was scouted, but I think it was because he kind of started to clue in just a bit before. So he has these roaches that now feel quite useless. You know, having 5 to 10, I would say, is good enough, right, to defend against any Ling swells that can happen on the ground, but going up to 15, maybe that's not what you want to do. Maybe not. Unless there's also going to be a Nidus Swarm, which there clearly isn't. In fact, Lambo not only getting a couple more roaches, but also going for a bunch of Spore Crawlers, all those queens, a Hydralisk Den, seriously a lot of Spore Crawlers. And continuing to upgrade. He's going to be the defender in this game for sure, as Denver commits to +1 melee, +1 flyer attack, and a heck of a lot of mutas. They work out so well on this map. They're seen in basically every matchup we have, even the ZVPs. It happens occasionally here. And it's just such a bothersome style to play against. If you don't do damage beforehand, if you don't make the game tricky and you just have to deal with someone who has mutas, oh, I get so tilted personally. But Lambo should be very familiar with the situation. And he is already, since he did get to 3 bases, he did get to perfect saturation on 3 bases, he is already investing into all the additional tech necessary to not just combat the mutas, but also to combat any Baneling pressure on the ground. Not that Denver is setting up for it now, but in the future he would be. Thank you very much, Eisen59, for the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you for entrusting your Twitch Prime sub to me. It's your baby for the month, and I'm taking care of it. So we got a Lurker Den, like almost immediately after the Hydralisk Den was done. He went right into those Lurkers. The thing is, you don't have to really worry about the mutas until, you know, a certain number of them with an upgrade are available when you have this many Spore Crawlers. So, you know, maybe it seems a little comedic at first to grab 5 Spore Crawlers when you have some queens, and you eventually are going to get to Hydras, but these Spore Crawlers defended against the mutas so that all the resources could really be going into the defense of this push that could happen, but also just the future of the game. This game, if it doesn't end here, would actually go for a fairly long time. Lambo is not set up. The Banelings do roll in. They crash into the roaches first, finally collect the drone kills with only 5 of them. Despite a decent number of getting in there, there were a couple of lurkers kind of sneaky-deaky over there. And the Banelings didn't get the perfect shots. So some of these drones, very, very low, but not dead. Maybe woulda, coulda, shoulda been 10 drones. Even if that were to be the case, that was a lot of Banelings to sacrifice for only about 10 drones and a handful of roaches, which are becoming increasingly less important, right? Like, it's not that you ever stop building roaches, especially because he committed to Roach Burrow and Tumbling Claws, as we see here, which is a very strong thing to do. Definitely do that. It's just that Lambo really is about to be onto bigger and better things. He's about to be onto Lurker Hydra, which, it's funny, because most ZvZs revolve around roaches. That is still absolutely true. When you get down to some of these later games, the latest games that you see in ZvZ, what do we usually see? If you can, you start adding in more and more Hydras until you become an actual pure Lurker Hydra Viper army. So Lambo didn't have to build up a mass of roaches and then do this. He went kind of directly into it, and he didn't die for it either, because of course it's very expensive to do this. You don't have a lot of units. Sometimes you can be overwhelmed. Lambo was not overwhelmed. Denver's actually still trying to overwhelm him, but Lambo this time even has a bit more supplies. Queen's on the front lines. His lurkers are burrowed. His spore clothes are still available and spaced out. The hatchery goes down to the friendly fire, which does suck. But Denver sacrifices about 40 supply there for Lambo's about 20. And that's not actually too bad of a trade. Despite Lambo being set up well, I think it was still a bit of a surprise. You know, he probably could have had a bigger concave. He probably could have spread out these lurkers a bit more. He probably was saying, you know what, you can't break this. Like, don't even try. Well, Denver did, and it did kind of work out. I would say with the economy Denver has, 5 bases, right? 78 workers. 40 supply for 20 is pretty good, but oh, what was that? I'm not sure what that was. That was weird. He lost mutas in the fight itself, but I don't know what that was. That was like 5 mutas going down. Okay. Alright. It is also worth noting that, you know, unit pound for pound here with the armies, Lambo is going to have a better army, especially with the upgrades continuing on as they are. 3-1 about to finish up. But that's the way it goes, right? Denver can get more units that are cheaper, maybe flimsier, maybe worse as the game goes on, but he can continue just rolling through here, rolling on top of the lurkers. Good last second split there, and lurkers are chunky, so they mostly survive the extra baneling splash there. The unintentional splash of the banelings dying is what happened. And they are fine. And that was a worse trade than last time. The resources loss is pretty devastating, truly. Like, again, Denver can afford some of these resources loss. He can afford to be this guy. This guy who just continues to throw units at his opponent. But the more supply Lambo has... Ooh, the Crystal Bub's a little scary. The more supply Lambo has, the more likely it is he'll have that supply in further engagements. You know what I mean? At 140 supply, maybe you're not quite there. At 160 supply, you're probably good to go. 140 supply, lose 30 supply. 160 supply, lose 10 supply. That type of thing. And Lambo's reaching up to 160. Still got Vipers, still got Lurkers, but he is really getting desperate to reach out for this 4th base. And that's where Denver might be able to get a really convincing fight. Is when Lambo has to move out here, put himself in the aggressive stance, you know, further burrow his lurkers that don't have burrow speed quite yet. Actually, he's going to go ahead and split the roaches on the front line, trying to soak the damage of the banelings, but so many more banelings from the south side, and the good split of the Hydras might just be able to save a decent number of them. The banelings also crash into the 3rd base and kill 23 drones. That was actually Lambo's most successful attack so far. By far. Lambo now down to 100 supply. He just was unable to get to that 4th base. He was making it work by having concaves, by always being ready to split, but trying to get forward like that and well, just simply not seeing all the banelings come from the south side. He has now taken a devastating blow to his supply. Kind of the reverse of what I said would happen, but fair is fair. Fair is fair, man, that happens. Banelings especially can be very difficult to call, not just for like casters, but for players. Imagine like 2 more spikes of these lurkers on top of the banelings to the right side. Suddenly 15 of them are gone instantly. And you're like, how? Why would you even try that? Denver, he could probably just win by continuing to do what he's doing. It seems like it's working out okay. But it would be the safer call to not only continue expanding, which is what he does, but it's also a safer call to probably start thinking about his own hive. His own Vipers would help take care of some of these lurkers if they're becoming a problem, and also give him access to Ultras, which can kind of help those banelings on top of the lurkers if that were a problem. Lambo still has enough economy on his 33 base to get back up to 150 supply, or just there, barely to it, but oh no! The banelings surround coming from the south side this time actually hits the heart of the Hydra army. The army that Lambo has done a decent job at protecting up until then. couple last-second splits, good concaves. He was keeping his Hydra count okay, but he just lost his entire army. Aside from the Lurkers, which thankfully they are still alive, they are still well, and they are fully upgraded with their extra range, I believe. Yeah, and their bro speed. And those are always scary, but taking out so much supply. I mean, damn. And this is also worth noting that Denver has done this all in +1 melee, when Lambo's been on 3-1 for the past, like, 2 or 3 fights. I mean, goddamn. Thank you, Penny Waffle, for the 2-month resub. Ah! Sorry. Almost missed the Banelings colliding in. 5 more drones go down. You know, there was Tunneling Claws Roaches, by the way, which I noted, like, 6 minutes ago. What even happened to them? I guess they got caught by Overseer and Mutas. Okay, well, one's here. I guess they got caught by the army, or they got F2'd back. I'm not sure which one. Well, Lambo, I guess the good news for him is that with his upgrades as they are, like, he probably doesn't really need to worry about continuing to upgrade. I think they just exploded on the Roche. Is that what he's been doing? Oh my god, I've missed that. Oh shit, that's actually so cool. Oh, I'm sorry, Lambo. He's been doing this cool thing probably more than once, and I didn't even notice. He's popping up the Roach to take out the Banelings, but more on that later. The possible final battle coming in here, but look at the Lurker shots on top of the Banelings. That's what's supposed to happen. Some Banelings do end up colliding, and unfortunately, Lurkers on the front line do get taken out by the Lings, but we also had a Parasitic Bomb on top of the Mutas, which almost took down like 10 of them. Still at a count of 20. It's fairly convincing, but oh my god. Like the line of Banelings coming through with the Lurkers getting them down to red, like that's the one more shot that suddenly makes it look foolish. Unfortunately, they just missed one more shot to save all the extra units. Needed to jump on top of a Viper, didn't have much energy, and now jumping on top of the hatchery. All those Spore Crawlers that Lambo had made in the earlier part of the game have been taken down, either intentionally or unintentionally, and he is now desperately going for the last attack. Denver, maybe he could have jumped on top of this. This is not a very large army, but he's not going to play this foolishly. He's not going to just try and throw away the game because he thinks he can take a fight. He's going to posture a little bit more, take some damage from Parasitic Bomb, but he just took down all of the Vipers. And this choke, well, it's not going to work out well enough. Oh my god, the carnage here. 2 more Lurkers on the backside, but not enough Hydra to take care of the Mutas, and that is finally game. Lambo almost, he was so close to getting to that point of, like, kind of no return for the Ling Baneling army. I have too many Lurkers protecting each other for you to actually get to the juicy center of my army. I think he was so close to doing it. But reaching out to the 4th base in those situations, when the other players are already maxed out and totally ready to roll, like that's the real test, I guess. It's the real test. I wonder if Fungal and the Banes would help. So, you're not wrong, but the funny thing about Fungal in any situation, right, is that it's not actually dependable. For one reason or another, the era of beautiful Fungal is gone. And not because they went from stopping completely to slowing. No, just like, you know, like, for instance, yesterday for TSL, Raynor got Infestors against a Cyclone army. And he even had, like, a couple of hidden ones. And they had perfect opportunities to grab 6 Cyclones in their web. And they would only grab, like, 2. So I don't know if the projectile is some way different, or people are less practiced with them. I don't know. But, like, the Fungals always sound amazing because we're imagining them catching all 20, 30 Banelings. How often does it actually happen? For me, personally, I'm going to say it hasn't happened in a very long time. The perfect Fungals and the Mutas hasn't happened in a very long time. It's gotten close. It hasn't happened. And if you're not going to get those perfect Fungals, if you're still going to let, of 30 Banelings, 20 of them still get through, you're probably going to have roughly the same result. Except that you also spent money on Infestors that have now died in the process because they're squishy. Losing to Mutas and Denver at the same time. This is peak trigger for Lambo. Well, I didn't know he was about the Denver problem, but I know that anyone losing to Mute is there's a tilt factor there. It's the type of game where you're like, oh, I can make a comeback. Oh, if I just play smart, like I can do this. I'm gonna have the better army, and then you continue to make just the smallest bad decision, just the smallest mistake to you, right? To the other guy, they're like, wow, wide open, go for it. But to you, you're like, oh, I only made a small mistake. And then you get crushed for it. Like, everyone gets frustrated at those games. Denver is going to go ahead and, well, maybe end this game super early. Take advantage of the tilt that Lambo might be experiencing. In the top right of Everdream, we have Lambo. The bottom left, as the blue Zerg, it is Denver going for the 12 pool. And considering how popular the drone pool has been on this map, I just gonna go ahead and say that's what it's gonna be. We'll see if Lambo can show us the perfect defense with the wall. Or if he's gonna die. To be fair, you don't have to do the wall to defend a 12 pool, but I want to see it. I want to see the proper way to do it. Anyone got any seeding? Says Dares. Yeah, not this tournament. This tournament doesn't. Oh, he's actually sending out a drone, but maybe to build a spine crawler. Okay. Still anticipating the drone pool then. The lings go pop. The drones go pop. Drones go, yeah! Going on a ride. Go get it. Get it, girls. This drone actually stays back in mines. Is that a thing? If there was any drones that stayed behind, I would have anticipated more than one. Either 0 or like 3, you know what I mean? But I guess it's only 1. Alright, you get to stay at home. You hold down the fort. These gals are going on a trip. Lambo sees this, of course, with the first overlord, and he is going to do the... Okay. So this is not what I was anticipating. So I just went over the hatch, evolution chamber, hatch block. This is a... You have to go around me and buy extra crucial seconds block. Keep in mind... Yeah, it's possible his drones come back and die. So he already loses 2 drones that were going to give him a 6 drone advantage. There's no 5 drone advantage. His hatchery is alive though, so if he holds with like a decent number of drones, it will still be in his favor. Spine crawlers are on the way. The lings are on top of the drones, and Lambo, I don't know, that drone kind of not looking that convincing, and the spine crawlers aren't dying. And that hatch evolution chamber block thing still doesn't look that as good as people say. GG. Denver with the 2-0. Lambo does not show us the way. I'm really surprised by that.